Welcome to another dilemma, the Moral Dilemma Podcast.
Welcome.
I like that.
Thank you. Thank you. Big news, everyone. We're back with another Halloween special of Moral Dilemma. Hands down, my favorite episode we've ever done of Moral Dilemma is the last time Doug was here and we did the first one, Halloween episode. Cameron's phone's going off. So spoiler, Cameron is on the episode, and he's not very professional, I guess.
He forgot to silence his phone.
It's probably his lady friend.
Oh,
No, it's Parker, actually.
But we are back.
Hey, he's getting us food. Make sure he's getting the right stuff.
Maybe you should call
We're
him.
back with a Halloween special. One of my favorite times of the year, spooky season. We have Doug with us again. Actually, let's just do the normal things. I'm Ryan.
I'm Eric.
I'm Doug.
And I'm Cameron.
And you're watching
Moral Dilemma.
I had to bring it out. But yeah, I'm excited for this. All about spooky stuff. This episode. I'll give a quick shout out to the Scream series. I binge watched those the other day. Got me in the spooky mood. The Fear Street series on Netflix. Don't really recommend it for kids, but it was a good time. And I Know What You Did Last Summer. And that's not a statement. That's a movie. And I enjoyed it. But anyway, today we're going to be talking about the most scared we've ever been and times that we've scared people. And then we're going to do a second part when Doug is going to dig deep into his weird knowledge. Not weird. I'm jealous of it for paranormal stuff. And I think we're talking about witchcraft, right?
Just whatever.
We're just gonna see what happens. But I'm excited for it. I'm here for it. Who wants to kick us off with something spooky that has happened to them personally or that you did to someone?
Okay, well, a couple things. One, you know, I when I first was a kid, or like around 8. Well, no, I was like 5 or 6. I had this bedroom where it was just tons of windows
Yeah,
in the bedroom,
kind of spooky.
and it's like you see neighbors across the street everywhere, and you're like feeling like you're just being looked at all the time.
Wait, this was your
it
bedroom or just your
yeah,
house in general?
my bedroom. It
Tons
had
of
like
windows?
10 windows. In
Okay. I like
it.
it.
10 windows.
That's a lot of windows.
Like a whole wall. Like window.
Eric lived in a glass house.
Yeah. And I felt like I was being looked at. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it made me scared.
Didn't have curtains or
No.
blinds.
And then finally, my mom was like, Mom, I can't sleep in this way. So she figured out something. But
Would you
yeah.
just turn your bed around?
no, we just put like sheets up or
Okay.
something for a while until we got curtains. But
That's good.
didn't have any curtains. It was just all windows. And yeah, it freaked
That
me
is
out.
kind of creepy.
And then you ever do this to your mind? Like I stayed at my grandparents' house, which is always kind of creepy anyhow. Like my
That's
grandparents
true.
lived in the middle of nowhere, like in Doddridge County.
Mm-hmm.
So you're out in the woods, and it's an older house, and you're staying in this bedroom, and there's like all these pictures are like from the 1917s,
Oh, yeah.
1920s.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a really old radio in the living room, and you see it. Like I had this vantage point where I was seeing a little bit of light, and because they had this light in the kitchen that was always constant because it was natural gas light, because they had free natural gas, so it was always on.
Oh, dang.
So you had this shadow effect, and this rocking chair had like, I mean, I didn't know what it was, but the rocking chair was moving. Okay. And as it was moving back and forth, and I wasn't sure what moved in it really. I still don't know what that was. But when I looked into the room, I saw the shadow of it. And so I saw the rocking chair moving. And then it looked like somebody was sitting there, like the shadows.
Dude.
And I finally got the courage. So I was like 8 or 9. And I finally got the courage. I'm going to go across there and look and see what's about.
Did you army crawl or anything, or did you just...
No, but I was really scared.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like you're in a creepy house.
Were
it's
you
old.
brandishing a weapon?
No, no weapon.
That was mistake
Probably
number
had
one right
I
there.
probably had like a little teddy bear or some type of thing with me.
Not
when I
very
was a young
effective.
kid. Yeah, at least I had something to throw. You know,
That's true.
it's like you know, take off. You know, but anyhow, came in to find out it's like blankets on. It's just amazing. It made me realize how shadows work.
Yeah.
Because it was like blankets over here, quilts over. It was quilts. So it was quilts stacked up, and the shadow it made it look like. That's what it, combined with that and the rocking chair, it made it look like a person's face. That was
Whoa.
in the
Wow.
rocking chair. And I still don't know what caused the rocking chair. It was actually moving back and forth.
See, that's...
So was it the actual? You saw the shadow move, so you think it's a rocking chair moving, could have been the light source
It could have
making
been
it flicker
flickering
and make it
because
look like the chair
It
is
could have
moving.
been flickering because it was a gas light. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
like it was always lit.
So it might have been a small, and then making it seem like the
Deviation to that
shadow
that
was.
made it look like the chair was moving.
See, Eric, I'm proud of you because a lot of people would see that and then immediately claim that their house is haunted
Yeah.
and try to be special about it. But you're looking for the logic behind it.
Oh yeah. I don't. Well, I don't. You know. I mean, this could be another. We talked about that a little bit last year, but I don't believe in ghosts. Of course, I believe in demons, and I do think there's demons that do things to make you think that maybe they're ghosts sometimes, but there is no ghost.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And if you are interested in that, listen to last year's episode, which is crazy. It's been a year.
Yeah.
But man, I love that episode so much. I've listened to it multiple times.
I don't think we'll link it right here in the video.
Yeah, right here.
I can't do it.
And
It's a
gonna-
card. It'll come out on the top
it's
right-hand
gonna roll.
corner.
Is it
I
right there?
can't. It'll be up there. Yeah.
Up here?
Yeah.
Or right here.
No,
I think
it'll
it's
be
in
on the
that
right.
corner. It's on that
I
corner.
think YouTube only puts it on the right. I don't know about Facebook. We'll figure it out Facebook. But
Can you start the timer, Adam?
oh man,
That was nice. I like
Thank
terrible.
you. I've done that in a few episodes, and I like how it sounds in my ears. But a lot of people probably just think I'm weird for it.
No,
I love it.
like it.
I love it.
Thank you.
That was
welcome.
amazing.
I can't
All right,
do it like you.
Eric, do you have you have another story you want to share though?
Well, yeah. Is that okay to share mine?
You know what? I'll
I feel
allow
like
it.
I'm dominating here.
I'll allow it. No, that's
Okay.
fine. This is
one of the
one-
perfect scares. There's two scares. One I got in trouble for. I'll share that one first because the other one is pretty epic. Okay. So I scared my sister one time really bad. It was at my grandma's house. It was near Halloween.
Okay.
And
it.
so, you know, you kind of get that vibe at it. So we're leaving my grandma's house. And again, it's an older house. Got the kind of same, a little bit of the same feel. Not quite as it was my great grandfather's house that we were staying at before.
Okay.
So I'm standing outside. I get really in the shadows.
Okay.
There's like a little light that's on the porch, but not enough. It's like one of those lights that's about ready to go out.
Yeah.
One of the old incandescent lights that just kind of like maybe even like kind of just like fading out.
Yeah. That's spooky.
So I'm kind of tucked away, and where the door, the porch is long, so I'm kind of tucked in an area there on the porch that can't be seen. I think there's some things. I can't remember exactly what, but there's some things standing up that's kind of covering me some too.
All right.
And I'm a little thinner because I'm probably 12,
you're a thin
13
boy.
years old. When I was
little
thinner.
slender
A little
man,
bit, yeah.
maybe.
I'm a little heavier now. But anyhow, so I just wait for the perfect opportunity. I let her walk past me just before she gets to the steps.
Good move.
And then I just get behind her. I just go, ah! I mean, I didn't want to do it in the microphone, but I let out like a screeching, like,
Yeah.
or something like that. And she
That's
jumps
awesome.
and she almost fell. I had to really grab her because she was
Wow.
and she was pale as white. And I lost video games for like 2 weeks.
Was it worth it?
Yes, it was.
I'd say so.
Seems totally worth it.
Who would have known that your sister was so scared of pterodactyls?
Absolutely. Okay. So the next one, this was epic. Okay. It's my grandparents' house. They have stairs. Okay. And my aunt, she's probably 8 years older than me. Okay. She was the youngest of the family with my mom being my mom's sister. So she's upstairs, and I would say it's probably a Halloween again around that time frame. It's when the Michael Jackson Thriller song is being played. okay?
Terrifying.
So she's listening it upstairs. The lights are out on the stairs that lead to the upstairs, so it's dark. So I get in my head, I'm gonna crawl up the stairs and just crawl like Spider-Man, just like slowly crawl up each step. And so the song is finishing up, and I'm just being patient. I'm just waiting for the opportunity. And so it's pitch black. And for whatever reason, I knew the light was out. I think that's what I knew. I knew the light was out upstairs.
Yeah.
So she couldn't turn the light on. So she finishes the song. And so you know how Vincent Price ends that song. It's pretty dramatic there. She comes out. She starts acting like she's going to, or she starts walking towards the steps. She takes like the first couple steps. I reach up with my hand.
Gosh.
and I grab her ankle, and she screams, and then she proceeds to like say, "Who is that?" And she kicks me. She kicks me off the stairs, and I slide all the and it was so awesome. I mean, it was just so awesome. It was just amazing. Like it was just
Sounds like she could defend herself.
it was worth everything, and I really appreciated the fact she kicked me down the stairs. It was awesome.
That's great.
Oh my gosh.
That is spooky.
Yeah, it was probably it was epic. I mean, it was just I was just like reaching over and I just grabbed her ankle. She was like, "What?"
Yeah. I got a pretty good one.
Okay.
This happened probably, I don't know, probably like, how old am I? Probably like 12 years ago. But Logan, my younger brother, and his friend Skylar were over. And I don't even think it was around Halloween, but it was getting kind of dark at night, you know. And we have a big yard. Some of you have seen my yard. And in our front yard, we have this like area that's kind of overgrown. We call it the swamp. It's not huge or anything, but it's just like there's like a tree there and like a bunch of weeds that we just don't mow. It looks kind of cool, so we're not worried about it. But Logan and Skylar were on the far side of the swamp looking for something. I don't know. I think they were looking for a cat maybe. But they were on the other side, and then on the other side is a road that goes by our house.
Wait, was there a lost cat?
I think there was. I think somewhere in the equation there was a lost cat. But anyway, they were really young, probably like maybe 10 or something, and they were like on the other side of this, kind of like walking across the road. But from our porch, I was able to walk to the other side of the swamp without them seeing me. And I got real close to them, but because of all the stuff, they couldn't see me. And I could hear them talking, looking for stuff. And I remember they were kind of creeped out because I think initially I wasn't going to scare them. I was just going to go like see what they were doing. But then I was like, I'm going to scare the crap out of these kids. And so,
and how much older are you?
I mean, I was probably like 2 or 3 years older. It was old enough.
What do you mean? Like, is that something that's changed over time?
No. Back then I was 3 years older, but now I'm only like a few years. But anyway, I played it up a little bit because I knew they were looking for something. I'm pretty sure it was a cat. I think we had a cat that went missing, and so I started off with this like low noise. I was teasing. I was like, and I remember them like stopped talking. They were like, "What's that?" And I made a little more noise, like rustled some branches or whatever, and then I made this terrifying like monster sound, like and like lunged at them through the thing. So they still couldn't see who it was. And dude, it scared the crap out of them. They did those like scared screams where like it's all just like chest. Like,
They're hyperventilating.
And it could have gone bad because both of them immediately ran into the road. No cars ever go by our house though. But I remember they like fell. Both of them fell and scratched up their hands on the gravel and stuff.
Wow.
And I think the scariest part for them was that they still couldn't tell that it was me for a while because I had to go around to reveal myself. And so they were just like terrified. And Logan still brings it up all the time. This one's kind of evil what I did. Me and Logan when we were younger, probably it was before this. So Logan was probably like 6 and I was probably like 8 or 9. We would turn all the lights out in our house. I think after our parents went to bed and play like a haunted house thing and just scare the crap out of each other, like go ghost hunting or whatever. And our house is a super old house. And so we have these like vents that have these like gratings that.
Plus, you have a birthing table in your kitchen.
A birthing table?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Your mom's desk used to be a birthing station.
It was? I didn't know that. How do you know that?
I don't know. We were talking about it one day, and I was like,
interesting
I was like,
Was that board on the
information.
table?
that's what I said. I was like, did you guys?
We were at a party or something at your
Yeah.
house, and it was just started talking about that big, huge desk. I think was for like a
birthing station.
birthing table.
Wow. That's creepy. And I didn't
That's
know that.
really creepy.
I have eaten a lot of meals at that table before.
That desk?
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that's crazy. But anyway, we were playing this
Maybe
haunted
there's
house
a lot
game.
of dead babies burning.
Oh my god.
No, to be honest
Had
though,
to go there.
if there
Had to
is
go
a
there.
haunted house, which I don't believe in ghosts and stuff, but if there was one, it is my house because it's super old and crap has gone down. I guess there was a birthing table at one point, which doesn't bode well for like spirits and stuff, I guess.
Lots of blood.
A lot of blood, maybe some death. People had to have died in my house. Like, it's so old. Like, so many families have lived there.
Well, the interesting thing about old homes is like they do have a lot of noise.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
creaks.
And like that's something I've just grown up with, so like that
Yeah.
stuff doesn't scare me. Like our house creaks and stuff, and you can hear someone walking on the other side of the house. It doesn't freak me out.
Is that somebody else walking on?
Right now?
No, I'm just saying.
Oh.
How do you know it's somebody
Oh,
else?
I don't know. I just accept it. Just accept
your
potential death.
Yep.
But anyway, we were playing this haunted house game, and I thought it'd be funny to take out one of those vents. I wasn't really thinking about it, but so it's like a vent, and it kind of leads to our basement, but there's like a little floor to it, and then it like goes into like a funnel. And I think it's used to like suck hot air. So anyway, I took that vent out, and
Went in there?
I scared Logan and chased him through the house. And we were like playing this game. I forgot that the vent was gone, and Logan runs to the kitchen where the vent used to be, but now it's just a hole basically leading to our basement. And he's just running, and then I just see him drop and fall. And I was like, oh, crap.
It's on the floor, huh?
Yeah, it's like into the floor. Like
I was thinking on the side of the
I was
wall.
thinking on the wall
no,
too.
no,
Yeah.
it's like in the floor. Like you
Yeah,
walk
it's
over.
one of those
I'll show
old
it to you.
heaters.
Yeah,
It's one of the
exactly.
old heaters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The old
you've
style
seen it.
heaters.
Yeah.
You've seen it.
Air return thing, yeah.
But yeah, I like looked down, and Logan was in this hole, and I think he scraped his back off of it on the way down because it
gee.
knocked the breath out of him. So just like me, I was like, and I was like, oh man, I'm in
How
trouble.
far did he go down?
Not super far, but like
Oh.
he was young and small, so
Yeah.
like enough to where like I didn't help him out because I was like, I'm in trouble, so I went and got my mom, and she got him out. But yeah, I got in a lot of trouble for that, but it scared the crap out of him.
Yeah.
Haunted house, baby. But yeah, that is
Wow.
two of my favorite scares I've done.
Those are good ones.
Uh-huh.
So you never been scared?
Oh yeah, I've been scared. There have been a few times here that Adam scared me. He used to do it all
Really?
the time. Like I think back
Adam?
back when I was like an intern, Adam would do this thing all the time where, because I'd be here at night a lot, he'd like walk ahead of me a little bit, and I always knew it was coming, but he'd be like around a corner and he'd do his little screech thing. He'd do the screech. You know what I'm talking about? That. Yeah, that. He'd do that around the corner, and it'd scare me every single time. Great work, by the way. Big fan of your work.
So that's really surprising me because you're not somebody that I think that I would want to scare because I know that's something that you have a hard time with.
Me?
Adam.
Oh, no, Adam would scare me.
No, I know, but
Okay, I
but he
gotcha.
wouldn't like that in return.
I think I've tried it before, but I'm usually too impatient and kind of like...
You don't like
Give
anything
yourself
like
away
that.
and-
No, I don't.
I mean, you're like if there's a zombie phobe, you have it.
That has nothing to do with you scaring me.
Adam's more...
If you came at me with full zombie makeup, I would freak out and I would double tap you.
Adam's
Double
more...
tap.
But if you just jump scare me, I can't. No, I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
because I do it. I don't dish out what I can't take.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
I ever can't take something, it's because I'm probably something else was going on, wrong, or I'm just upset about something else.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I
I'm
feel
usually
like
pretty
Adam's
good.
more scared of like concepts, like if I woke
Demons
up one day
and-
Carrie was a zombie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've told me that one before.
Right. But no, but I'm usually pretty perceptive. I can
Yeah.
usually catch when you're trying or
Yeah.
something like that.
And then Dan scared me real bad one time after a movie.
Oh, that was awesome.
I think it was the first time I ever really hung out with Dan.
That
So I
was-
didn't
that
know
was-
him
First
super
impressions
well.
are everything with Dan.
And I was the
I
last.
was accomplice in that one.
It was at night, and I walked out of the theater. I can't remember what we saw, but I forget. I think it was you that said, "There's a dog over there," and I was like, "Oh, really?" I'm like a sucker for dogs. And I went over, and
remember
Dan,
that.
who I really didn't know, was like, "Bark, bark, bark, bark." It scared the crap out of me.
Was that at Marietta Theater?
No, it was
No,
at
it
Regal.
was at Regal.
So like right
Yeah.
when you walk out, where like the smoking
Yeah.
area is, he was
I
around the
feel
He's
like
right-
I was
there's a
there,
bush
but
right
maybe
there.
I can't remember.
So spooked me.
All right, Cameron.
Yeah, Cameron, you have a life or death situation, right?
Yeah.
I want to hear this. I'm excited.
Well, I got
oh,
like
is it the
3 of
spleen?
them.
He's got two
I got-
true
I know
stories
the
that are
spleen.
actually kind of scary.
Yeah. So we'll go with the spleen one first.
Okay.
So we get to, what was it?
Parchment Valley.
No,
Cedar Lakes.
Lakes.
Cedar
Cedar
Lakes.
Lakes.
That's right.
So my church, which was Calvary at the time, we got there before everybody else was. And so me and my group were playing basketball. And the ball starts to go off the court. So me and my teammate both start running towards the ball. And he's like a whole foot taller than me at the time.
You were little Cameron.
Yes. So I bump into him.
Hey, Parker's here. Stand at the door. Kind of creepy, by the way.
That is really creepy.
That's very
We
fitting.
should turn the camera around so they can see that.
Can we just eat our food while we shoot the podcast?
That'd be
I feel like
loud.
it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Anyway. So he bumps into me, and him being like a foot taller than me and probably at least 75 pounds on me, I
Probably
just
launches
flop
you.
over and like fly like 2 feet and slide a foot across the concrete and lacerate my spleen.
With
So
your
then-
elbow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you landed on your elbow.
Yeah, I don't know if you will be able to see it, but like,
Make sure you're talking to the mic so people
oh
can.
yeah, I don't know if you guys can see it, but most of that right there is
Yeah.
from sliding on concrete
She was.
with a Chick-fil-A scar, but that's besides the point.
We'll get
So
you.
then, Mom takes me to the closest like Med Express looking thing, but they're closed.
Yeah.
Because it's a Friday night, I think.
Yeah.
But
Probably, yeah.
yeah. So
So were you like really scared this entire time because you knew something?
I was
bad
more
happening?
like, almost like drunk with like,
adrenaline.
yes.
Really.
So I'm kind of like stressing the heck out, not knowing what's gonna happen.
And drunk with the bile of your spleen pouring into your
That
body.
is-
So yeah,
that's-
you're pretty.
Yeah. Anyway, I wasn't all there. So ended up going to another hospital. It was like a actually decent sized one. And they're like, oh yeah, you got a spleen laceration. We're gonna life flight you to Charleston.
Dang. Dude.
8-minute helicopter ride.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
So I was in the ICU for a couple of days, but after that it was fine.
That's nuts.
I'm sure once you found out that you're being life flighted out, that it probably felt
Dude, I was
real.
terrified.
Yeah.
bet.
Like
I couldn't
I
imagine that.
like Mom couldn't go with me either. So it was just me, the pilot, and his co-pilot.
Wow.
And there was enough room for anybody else.
Wow.
So I like start just losing it.
So you're all by yourself.
Yeah.
Nobody to talk to.
Yeah.
And
So-
you don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So they're like, yeah, we're gonna put you in this helicopter and we're gonna fly to Charleston. Like, oh no,
I hate
tears are coming down my
Charleston.
face. I don't know what's happening. So they end up
Because
giving
you
me
were
morphine
like
to calm
13,
me down.
14?
Probably
this-
younger than that, right?
This was this 2014?
2016,
2016? Is that what year it was?
I think.
Hey, don't eat and eat talking to Mike because that really makes me hungry.
Anyway,
I was
yeah,
swallowing my spit.
I heard it.
Yeah, this was 2016, and yeah, that was not fun.
Yeah. Man, that's scary. You have another one?
Yes, so this one involves Eric's neighbor.
Yeah.
Oh.
We won't say who.
Yeah, we won't say.
I don't
was
know
it your?
this.
Had you guys moved in yet?
No.
No.
No. Well, we bought the house, but we
You
had
just weren't in
Is
yet.
this your old house or your new house?
New house.
Oh, so this is recent.
Yeah.
Yes.
This
Oh,
was
dang.
last year.
This is
For my,
saucy.
on my
Well,
18th birthday.
It's near his grandpa's.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the story.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Dog.
Come on.
hey, it's only right because mine went off earlier.
But your phone was on silent.
Yeah, but that was an
It
alarm
was supposed to be.
for something. So
You got an alarm?
Probably your bedtime.
You got to take your meds?
I have maybe.
That's kind of spooky,
You got to
though.
feed your cat?
The phantom alarm.
Molly's not getting her food today? Go ahead.
All right. So, 4th of July, which is my birthday last year, 18th birthday. We had to borrow.
Yeah, that's
My
right.
dad.
It was your birthday
Yeah.
party.
Yeah. So we had to borrow my grandpa's truck, who is your
My
neighbor,
neighbor.
but hadn't moved in yet. Anyway, so we had to borrow his truck so we could move our grill from our house to the picnic area we were at, and he just loaded it up onto his truck and went back to his house. So after the party was over and we cleaned everything up, me, Parker, and our 2 friends went over to our grandpa's house to get the truck or to get the grill off the truck and just like into the garage or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So we're about to leave, and Eric's neighbor, he pulls up, but
Oh.
I don't know what he was thinking, but he ends up following us all the way from Eric's house, which is on Spider Ridge. Oh wait, I probably shouldn't have said that.
It's
That's
fine.
all right.
It's fine. Anyway,
Yeah, now
to
people know where we live.
yeah, that's like
It's
a
private
general
retail,
Just
area.
throw him under the bus.
That's fine. Yeah. So all the way to a city park area. He's like right on our tail. Parker's probably going like 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. Quite possibly
Wow.
20.
What a jerk. Not you, the neighbor.
I know.
Yeah,
he's like right on our tail.
Like
and-
full stalker mode.
yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's like it's at least dusk, if not dark.
Oh yeah. It
Oh,
was
man.
it was completely dark. It was at least 10 o'clock.
Wow.
So the speed limit on your road is like 35 at max. Parker's probably going like 45, and the dude is still right on us. That's the windy road too.
Yeah.
That's like it's all over the
Was
place.
he blowing the horn or anything?
No,
or
he's just straight up
chasing?
following us.
Wow.
So we end up pulling up to our friend's house, and he's still right there. He pulls up beside us, like, "What are you guys doing on Spider Ridge?" Apparently, he thought that we were just with his girls,
Yeah,
his
like
kids,
his daughter.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Or something.
gosh.
thinking that we were doing stuff, and then we were leaving as he got there.
Dang.
That's like a
That's creepy.
crazy dad move.
Dude.
Wow.
And
Relax, bro.
he and Dad got into a screaming match on the phone a few minutes after
Oh,
that.
dang. I would have
Yeah.
killed to have been there
Yeah.
for
And he didn't even apologize, right?
No.
Really?
Oh yeah, he did. He's like, "Oh, sorry, happy birthday," and drives off.
Wow.
At the event, but he didn't apologize to your dad on the phone.
No,
Like he
no.
felt
he
like
was
he
like,
was
"Yeah,
in
I had the right
to
to follow them all the way."
a high-speed
there.
chase
Yeah.
through
that.
town.
Dang.
Yeah,
That's stupid.
And
Yeah.
and
Wow.
intimidate a bunch
Yeah.
of teenagers.
yeah,
Wow.
And it was just wrong place, wrong, I guess, wrong
Mhm,
place, wrong
mhm.
time or something. 'cause he
Yeah.
just saw
Not
you
even
guys.
that, just a crazy guy, sounds
Yeah.
like.
but the fact that we were pulling up or leaving as he was pulling up.
I'd say
might
he
have-
has some trust issues with this.
Oh, he definitely does. He definitely does.
Gosh.
That's not my problem, buddy. Like, talk to them about it. Don't follow us home.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
scary.
That was, yeah.
Yeah, those are always scary if you have an interaction like that with someone that you don't know. Especially, I don't know if that was your first time, but I remember, like when we were
Is
camping.
that your first stalker, Cameron?
There was
Actually, it's my fourth.
I was riding my bike through like the campsites and stuff, and this guy just like jumps out in front of me and starts screaming at me
Dang.
because I drove past their camper too many times, and it was at night. They were having a fire and stuff, and he was like yelling at me, and I was like super young.
Oh, well.
And that scared the crap out of me for like a while.
You know who else I know you're scared of?
Who? Oh,
I won't mention her name, but she used to be a secretary here
yeah,
at the church.
that was scary.
And she would always kind of intimidate you.
Yeah. No, she hated when I would sit on that couch out there. 'Cause I couldn't drive, and I had to come to church at like super early because my mom
Yeah.
worked here, and I just wanted a little place to sit away from everyone. And she did not like it.
Nice.
And she let me know every single time, and I never changed what I did. But yeah, pretty spooky.
Now,
Yeah,
did you
that's-
scare anybody, Cameron?
No. I can't even remember any times I've been scared.
Yeah. Oh, it'll happen.
Probably. It'll probably be you.
Yeah, I'll make it happen. I'm gonna sneak into your house tonight.
I'll give you the key. Actually, I don't even have a key. Parker's got a key.
Don't go to the
boss
place
keys.
where he stores his knives. Okay,
That's where I'm going
They're
first.
just
where
all
you're
in my
scared.
room.
I'm gonna,
Yeah, so don't go to his house and scare him if that's where his arsenal is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kidnap
I've talked
your
about my
ferret.
arsenal. No, don't do that. I will go all John Wick on you. Do not come between me and my ferret.
Oh.
Wait, do you have just one ferret?
Well, we have two, but one
Yeah.
of them is like my specific
Yeah.
ferret.
Mm.
You like the one you have, or do
I
you
love
wish
the
you
one
had
I
Parker?
have. I love them both, but I like mine more.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Doug.
All right, so I have two funny being scared stories,
Okay.
and then one where I was really thought I might die
Whoa,
stories.
I
So,
love these.
so the first funny one was when I was in college. You know, I must have been either over a break or over the summer, and I had my own little TV room down in my parents' basement, right? And they were gone one night doing something, and so I was home alone, and I was playing video game. I think I was playing Parasite Eve. Remember that game?
Oh yeah, that's a good game.
And it was, I mean, it's not like super scary like Resident Evil, but it was still pretty creepy.
There'd be things that jump.
Yeah,
at you and
yeah.
stuff,
There's
right?
there's definitely things to jump, especially the cinematics. So anyway, so I'm sitting there, I'm playing this game, and all of a sudden I hear, and this is in my parents' basement, I hear this, and I mean like the hair on the back of my neck stands up, and I'm like, what? What's that?
Sounds like you just fed a parasite.
And so, but it wasn't from the game. It was like the next room over. I'm like, so I call for my dog, and my dog at the time named Sparky was like this little tiny. He was a mix between a schnauzer and a poodle.
Oh man.
He was the sweetest dog, but he was scared of his own shadow. So like, if like a burglar came in, he would like run and hide. So, anyways,
no
I'm like,
protection
call.
at
I'm like,
all.
here, Sparky, here. So he jumps up my lap, and I'm like holding him, trying to play my game. I'm like, I don't know what that was, but I need something to cover me. So I'm waiting, and then a little bit later, I hear it again. I goes, what is that? Because I'm like, and it started kind of sounding maybe like it was mechanical or something.
Oh dang.
So I finally got enough courage to actually go over to the other side. And you gotta understand it, like my parents' basement to this day is unfinished.
Yeah.
So we don't have like light switches. You have like the pull string, for different lights and stuff. So I go over in the other room, which is an old upholstery shop that my mom used to have. And so I'm looking around and I find what the stupid thing is. It was this McDonald's toy.
Oh,
Those
It
will
was a
get ya.
straw. Remember when the movie Tarzan came out, the Disney animated Tarzan?
Oh.
They had these stupid straws that had the little character's
I think
face
I
on
remember
it.
those, yeah.
And when you drank through it, it would make their noise. So it was actually Tarzan's yell, but the batteries were dying.
Oh.
So of course it was like, instead of it going, oh, it was like, and I'm like, so,
Oh my gosh.
but the funny thing is like, I just left it. So like several weeks later, it happened again. I hear that, and I'm like I still have the same reaction, even though I know what it is. And I'm like, so I threw it in the trash. I was like, this thing's out of here.
You think the batteries are dying, but really a ghost was sucking through it.
Yeah, that's right.
Making it
Ghost
off.
going
Ghost
Ghost
in your basement drinking a root beer.
yeah.
That's the scary part.
He's a thirsty boy.
So, but I was one of those where like, the hair on the back of your neck stands up.
Yeah.
You just freeze. You have that sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach. You're just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
all right. So the other funny one was not too long ago, probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I went to the beach with my mom and my sister and her family, and like during the afternoon, like everyone else would go out on the beach, but I hated going out on the beach in the afternoon because I'm so fair skinned, I burn, and I hate putting on 10 layers of sunscreen and all that. So I would go out and do stuff around the town and everything. So they have this wax museum.
Oh, yeah.
Down by Broadway at the beach, if you're familiar with
That's your
Myrtle
first mistake right there.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't just a wax museum. They actually had 3 attractions. And I just wanted to do the wax museum at first. And, of course, they always want to upsell you. And they're like, well, it's only $3 more if you want to add the other 2. I'm like, okay. So it was a wax museum. It was a mirror maze, which was really cool. And it was a zombie outbreak haunted house.
Oh.
So I'm like, okay, I'll do this. So I go through the wax maze or the wax thing first, and I do the mirror maze and all that. So I save the zombie thing for last. And I like haunted houses, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, remember, this is in the afternoon. There's not a lot of people there. So I walk up to the place where you go in, and the lady's like, you ready? I'm like, yeah. So she lets me in, closes the door, and I'm standing there, and they have like this video, like
Yeah.
how it happens, this virus escapes from the lab or whatever. And I'm standing there, I'm looking, and I'm like, I'm the only one in here. What was I thinking? Because like usually you do haunted stuff with other
Yeah,
people, you're
yeah.
kind of like huddled together. I'm like,
Just share the experience together.
yeah, exactly.
They're about to prey on you.
Exactly, because I'm like, this is one of those things where there's live people in this attraction,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they all have like infrared vision and all
Yeah.
that, so they can see me. And I'm like, what was I thinking? Because I like jump scares, but I don't want to be the target of every single thing that happens.
You want to have somebody
Yeah.
else to be the
Exactly,
other target.
yeah. So I'm going through this. Of course, a lot of it is like the animatronic.
Yeah.
And they all look still kind of fake and stuff. But it's the people who are actually like popping out of windows and things that are like freaking me out. So finally, I get to this point. I don't know how far along it was, but you get to this point. Remember in Resident Evil where they start coming through the windows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as I turn the corner, I see what looks like an alleyway. You just have 2 buildings on each side with just a row of windows. And all these zombie hands just go like this and flop out and just hang. And I'm like, some of those are real. Some of those are real people. I know they are. So what I did, I took off running. I just ran through the whole line and ran the rest of the way until I got out. And I know there were people probably watching me on camera, like laughing. Just, I was like, but it was fun because they had to exit. Like every so often, they're like, if it's too much, you can. I'm like, I am not going to exit this place. But I ran through the rest of it.
It was the fastest
was
speed
so
run
fun.
I was
ever.
about to say first ever haunted house speed run.
It was. And I was pretty heavy at that time, too. I've never seen a fat man run that fast, but I did.
I wonder if the like zombie actors were kind of like, whoa, this guy's kind
Yeah,
of
and I
quick.
wonder if maybe they felt sorry for me, too. 'Cause
Well, they didn't have
either
time.
that or I just went I went by too fast. They didn't have time.
They didn't have time to get there. And
Yeah, that same guy was doing it all, and he couldn't keep up with you.
Gosh.
So that was a learning experience for me. Next time I will
Yeah.
consider
Take
those
other
things.
people with you.
Well, that's why I was like, I should have just waited till other people walked up and they're like going to go in, but I just did not think about it.
You're like, oh yeah, I'll do this. It's not a big deal. And then you're like,
Oh.
they shut the door, and you're the only one there.
Yeah.
Just sprint through it. And then what's
That's
your
hilarious.
All right. So the time I thought that I was going to die was when the very last time, and I swore it would be the last time I went whitewater rafting.
Oh, dang.
So two of my buddies decided they wanted to go rafting. They called me up one morning and they're like, "Hey, let's go rafting." I'm like, "Now?" They're like, "Yeah, right now." So,
Might as well.
but it actually ended up being right now. We had to wait because one of my friends, you know, they kind of have to do everything, all
Yeah.
the stuff, and so we didn't get started until like late in the evening, and this was
Oh,
late August, so it's
dang.
already starting to get dark.
Yeah.
earlier,
Oh, wow.
right. And we're going down to the New River. This is down in
Yeah.
Beckley.
Mm-hmm.
And the raft they had, this was not a whitewater rafting raft. This was like a raft you buy at a pool store
Oh,
or something.
no.
It was like just like this big. And I'm like, "Are you guys sure that?" "Oh, yeah, we've used this before." "Okay." So we get started. And of course, you know,
Started really questioning your friendship, right?
yeah, I did. Well, I showed a dark side of me too because I ended up knocking them both in the head with a paddle on purpose because I was mad. And another thing too is just a few days before this, I had developed a hernia.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
So
my
second
gosh.
hernia, and so I'm already like freaking out. No, I'm going to have surgery, have this repaired, and all this stuff. And I think I'd already had the surgery date set, and I was like, I don't want to get sick or anything.
Yeah.
And have to. I want to get this taken care of.
So you're really questioning your
So,
choices right now.
Yeah.
Friends, and why am I on this when I'm getting ready to have hernia surgery?
Exactly. So it ends up, it turns, we're not even a third of the way to where we left our cars, where we're supposed to get in our cars, and it's already dark. And so we're coming up on a place called Thurman, West Virginia. You probably never heard of it. It's an old ghost town.
Yeah.
It's where we actually camped out several times before.
Oh, man.
And I'm insisting. I was like, we get to Thurman, we're getting out of this.
Yeah.
But we were at the point, and the water was low.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time we got to that area, we actually had to get out of the raft and carry it
Oh,
over
man.
rocks.
That's
Oh,
Oh
man.
gosh.
This is not safe. And they're like, "Oh, come on, Doug, let's just make it." I'm like, I am not stepping foot back in this river
Yeah.
once we get out. So we finally got out. We called my friend's wife, who was like 8.5 months
Wait,
pregnant
so-
at the
Oh my
time.
gosh.
So this wasn't a guided.
No.
Oh,
No.
It was just
that makes
freestyle.
it so much worse.
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
I mean,
My-
it wasn't even it wasn't even a guided tour raft.
you
It was
just-
just
you-
a
No,
blow
yeah.
It was just a blow up raft
It
you
was
find
just
at Walmart.
I mean, it was one of those that was, it could tell it was a heavier vinyl, but it
Yeah.
definitely wasn't.
Oh,
This
man.
was your Walmart
rafting
special.
vinyl. Yeah,
This was a couple of buddies in Deliverance style. you know?
exactly.
Man.
And so we actually ended up calling. I was trying to think. We couldn't get a hold of anyone because we didn't have any service.
Oh wow.
So we actually started walking, trying to make it back to the road. We passed a guy who was out sitting at his campfire, like, "Hey, you mind give us a road up, a ride up to the
Yeah.
next available gas station?" So he did, and we were able to call his
Wow.
wife,
Man.
and she came and got us. And I was
that
so,
would be
but I was so
scary.
mad at him too. I was like, and I said a few choice words that I won't repeat on the air too to him. But
Wow.
yeah,
That's
because
something for
well,
Doug.
what had happened was too is it was still daylight, and they're like, "Oh, let's get out and swim, Doug." I'm like, "I don't want to get out and swim. I want to go. I want to get to our cars before it gets dark. Now let's get out and swim." So they jump out, and then they pull me in. That's when I grabbed the paddle and beat them both.
Are you still
Rightfully
It was
so.
pretty funny though, because their eyes were like this big, and I was just like,
Are you still friends with him?
"Yeah, I'm still friends."
Oh
with
wow,
them.
That's
that's
funny.
something of a
But
friendship right there.
the funny thing is that sometime later, it was like a year or so later, they're like, "Oh, hey Doug, you remember that raft we had? Yeah, we sank it last time we took a rafting."
Wow.
I
Well,
have
you
a
just have to
similar-
understand my friends because they're
Yeah.
just, I mean, they like to rock climb and rappel and all
Yeah.
that stuff. So they're all like adventure people.
We had a similar experience camping one year, probably 7 years ago. This is when like a big group from the church would go kayaking. This was before my dad was like a pro kayak or whatever, so we were just kind of getting used to the
Oh, you
kayaks.
had to throw that around.
Yeah, we like used to
Yeah,
have.
my dad's a
pro kayaker.
But anyway, we had a big group of people go on this big long kayak trip. We would like fish and stuff, and like it's an all day thing. And towards the end of it, we could tell that it was getting like super rainy and stuff. And like usually I'm not super worried about that, but I could tell that my dad was kind of worried. And my dad kind of gets worried, and I'm like, oh shoot, this
Yeah,
is
if your
serious.
dad's worried, a pro kayaker, then
And like
you're-
he wasn't saying it, but he was checking the like radar on his phone a lot,
Oh,
and he
wow.
would like talk to like the other dads and stuff. And I was like, oh crap, this is gonna be bad. And so we're kayaking, and all of a sudden, I'm not even kidding, probably the biggest storm, like thunder, lightning, crazy wind hit us. And it's like a huge group of people, a lot of kids too, just in single kayaks like me.
Out in the
And
water.
like the wind's blowing towards us, so it's like trying to push us back, and everyone's trying to get off to this bank underneath this big tree, because you just can't be in the water like that. And eventually we all get there, and when we finally all get to the side, it like just lets down like crazy lightning. There's like no one around. It feels like you're in the middle of nowhere because it's like getting dark and stuff. And for like, it felt like an hour and a half, we just couldn't do anything. We just had to sit there in like the open rain. And like at first, like my dad was like, it's all right. This happens. Like we're going to be fine. But then like it got like dangerously cold all of a sudden. Like it was like one of those storms where like
the
it's
temperature dropped.
yeah, it's like temperature drops and then it gets even worse. And so he's starting to like, I can tell he's starting to get worried, and like there's just nothing we can do. And I was so scared that entire time.
Wow.
Like it was crazy. So reminds me of that.
Yeah.
But with a big group of people. But eventually it passed, and like we went around one turn, we were back at the campsite, so we were real close.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got one more story if that's all right. If I
Yeah,
can share.
let her rip.
This isn't about me. It's about my sister.
Oh.
We were at my grandparents' house, and they had this box of like stuffed animals and toys that they always kept for the grandkids.
Yeah, kind of
So
spooky.
we're upstairs in the house. Like I said before, it's an older house. And so she's going to the box to pull out a toy, right? So she reaches her hand inside the toy box, touches something, and it starts squeaking and making a bunch of noise.
Oh no!
And she freaks out.
It was Cameron.
A bat.
No way!
A bat had gotten into that toy box and was resting and hiding in the dark of the toy box. So it was down in there.
Gosh.
So when she reached out, she actually touched the bat.
No.
Turned into a vampire, right?
Yeah. Yeah, she turned into that.
Something similar happened to me. I was at the Hef's house when I was younger for like a Bible study, and I was going through one of their old toy boxes, just helping myself. I was like probably like 6 or something, and I felt something like squishy and wet in the bottom, and I immediately for some reason thought it was like an eyeball or something, and I screamed, and like an older kid or like a parent or whatever came down, and there was an old chicken nugget in the bottom. Like a half-eaten chicken nugget, it scared me so bad at the time. I don't know why.
It's scary if it's half eaten. You don't know. I mean, especially
Who doesn't
nowadays.
finish a chicken nugget?
Am I touching somebody's saliva on that or what? You know? Especially nowadays with COVID. I mean, come on.
Dude, toy boxes aren't cool, man.
Yeah.
We got to get rid of them.
Yeah.
What?
You have too much stuff in there. Well, seriously, if you have too much stuff in there, how do you know what's in there?
I hold my
There could
Nerf
be a
guns in my
person.
toy
Like
box.
my
There could be a person
sister,
in
she
there.
just reached down and got something, and it was a bat.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
And then it flew around the room.
Yeah, that's not cool. Anyway,
I think the bat was scared more.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Chicken nugget. Spook me. Been afraid of him ever since.
You're afraid of chicken nuggets?
Yeah.
Understandable. Have you seen how they make them?
Yeah, I've seen stuff.
Oh, I
Not
haven't.
cool. I've seen like how they make the McDonald's ones.
Really?
It's literally just a combination of like the leftovers of.
Yeah.
No, I don't
Everything?
even know if it's just chickens, just different animals,
Not like hot dogs?
and they just like press it into a mold and.
Yeah. It's kind of like
Yeah,
hot
pretty
dogs.
much like hot dogs.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it looks nastier.
Sausage.
It's like super pink when it comes out. Yeah,
Yeah.
not cool. But they're kind of tasty.
All right. We want to do the
Let's get into
witches.
the witches.
Witches.
What's your favorite witch movie?
Witch movie?
Yeah,
Well,
I have 2 right off the bat.
seeing how I've only seen one, which was Blair Witch Project.
Oh yeah,
That's
that's
I have
a
to
good
say
one.
It's my favorite.
That's
That's the only one I've
that's a
seen.
classic. I like that one.
Yeah.
I
Last
really like.
Witch Hunter.
That what I should have said. I should have at the last podcast we did about the disappointed.
Oh,
I
you're
was
disappointed
so
by that?
disappointed.
And that was like
Yeah.
that was your era
That
too.
was
like it
that was when I
being
was in
marketed
college.
and-
Yeah, I was
Blair
in
Witch
college,
Project?
and I think it was. I was disappointed. I'd found out because it had hyped it up as actual
Yeah,
found
exactly,
footage,
yeah.
and I just found out right before that it wasn't.
Okay.
It was actually.
That makes sense. See, that's one era of movies that I wish I could have experienced for the first time the way it was intended, because that would have been crazy to see thinking it was real footage.
Yeah.
So I love that movie. I also like The Witch. It's a horror movie. It's probably one of the more like realistic, like they like did research and stuff on like witches, I guess. But it's super dark and just crazy. And then I watched The Coven. It's like a high school witch movie. That was a good time. Anyway,
Mine's bed knobs and broomsticks.
okay. Mine's the Wizard of Waverly Place high school or Halloween special.
Have you ever seen that? No.
I haven't.
It's a Disney movie.
Okay.
I actually watched that not too long ago. When
Really?
I first got Disney Plus, I was watching a
But
bunch
she's
of
a
the old
witch.
stuff.
Yeah.
She's trying to be a witch.
You got a favorite witch movie?
I just said Blair Witch Project like
Yeah.
2 minutes ago.
Oh, I forgot.
That's what started that whole thing.
What about you, Doug?
I would have to say Hocus Pocus.
That's a classic.
Actually, that was
I
classic.
haven't seen that
Halloween.
actually.
That's a classic.
It's
Hocus Pocus. But yeah, let's talk about witches though. The first thing I think of is the whole Salem witch trial thing. Back when like they were super convinced that a lot of people were actually witches. And I mean, even in the Bible, right? There's some talk about
Oh yeah.
is there talk
There's
about witches and
witchcraft.
stuff?
Yeah. Well, you have like the Witch of Endor,
Okay, that's right.
which
yeah.
was Saul came to Witch of Endor, had her conjure up Samuel.
Okay.
And it's interesting because a lot of scholars think that this was an instance where God allowed it to actually work.
Oh, dang.
Because when you read the passage, she's actually afraid. She's terrified that there's actually something happening.
Whoa, I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah. And that's actually when she realized that this is actually Saul
Yeah.
who is talking to her. And of course, that Samuel was allowed to return
Yeah.
and say what should be common sense. Why are you asking the dead about affairs of the living? What do we
Yeah.
have to do with that?
Mhm.
So, but then, he gets the bad news that God, which Samuel had already told him before,
Yeah.
but God's taking the kingdom from his hands and he's going to die.
Man.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, the Bible does talk about these types of things. And I was been watching one of my favorite new theologians, Doug Wilson. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but
The other Doug.
yeah, he had several episodes talking about magic and fiction.
Mhm.
So because there's people they're like growing up, my mom and dad never let me watch
Yeah.
Wizard of Oz or
Mhm.
Cinderella because they had magic and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And he made a good point in that if you have a problem with magic, then you have a problem with the Bible because there's a lot of magic
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
Bible,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we don't necessarily call it magic, but when you look at it through the eyes of ancient people, how would they have seen it?
Yeah.
What is walking on water? What is changing water to wine? What is calling fire down from heaven? It's a supernatural occurrence that's happening, and ultimately his point is what is the point of the magic being used? So like he brings up C.S. Lewis and J.R. Tolkien and how they use magic in their stories, and that like in the Lord of the Rings, Gandalf uses magic, but it's not something that he does because he's seeking power. It's actually out of just who he is, because he's an angelic being.
Yeah.
And similar thing with The Lion, the Witch, and Wardrobe in the Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah.
Aslan is a Christ figure, so of course he can do supernatural things. And so it's really ultimately what it's a means of storytelling. So is it something that portrays magic as a form of power that you can attain, which is what most people are seeking, or is it just a means to progress the story?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But kind of just playing off of what we talked about last year, I think a lot of Christians forget that the devil does have power.
Yeah.
And one of the things I remember being mentioned, remember the Prince of Egypt movie,
Yeah.
the animated
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah.
which was I really liked. I think it was a really entertaining movie. But one of the things I always had a problem with was how the magicians in Pharaoh's court, they portrayed them as doing sleight of hand,
Oh, yeah.
when the Bible actually says they actually replicated the first few
Yeah.
plagues. In fact,
Wow.
when Moses turned his staff into a snake, they did the same thing. Now Moses' snake ate their snakes, but they were able to do that, and it's because they really did have satanic empowerment.
Wow.
And while I think 99% of the things you see on TV and YouTube videos and all that stuff is not real, there is an element of realness that happen. Things happen
Yeah.
that we need to be wary of, and that's why I think Christians should stay away from dabbling in Ouija boards and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was about to say, I feel like it kind of goes back to, like, obviously you're not going to conjure like an actual witch or anything, but like that willingness to experience something dark like that Satan can't take a hold of, and like that goes back into like the demon territory that we talked about. Like, obviously those exist, and just being willing to invite something like that can be taken advantage of. So, because I mean, like I feel like even like recently we're talking about those Fear Street things. I've seen stuff on the internet of people like, people doing like fake witchcraft stuff, and it's just like, it's just not cool.
And, it's interesting too. A lot of classic horror movies, as they've tried to replicate things like The Exorcist, things like that, there have been reports of weird things happening on set.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, it's because you're inviting that stuff
Exactly. Yeah.
around just by even reproducing it or imitating it, And, for Christians, I don't believe we can be possessed or anything, but we can be led astray. We can be deceived. And it's especially dangerous for those who aren't Christians to open a door like that and dabble in that kind of thing.
And I feel like witchcraft is almost, I mean, it's more culturally like looked at as a little more fun. Like when you have like Harry Potter and stuff, which I'm a big fan of, obviously, and like Wizards of Waverly Place and stuff. But there's also kind of like an evil side of that. Like, I'm not saying parents shouldn't let their kids watch Harry Potter. My parents let me watch Harry Potter for a while, which sucked.
Same.
But still, like, that's kind of like a thing that I can see, like darkness coming through, that's kind of being like pushed a little bit more towards kids and stuff, like not really realizing that there's like a serious side of that. They're just like, oh yeah, witchcraft. Like when I'm older, like we'll do like a little thing in the woods or whatever.
Well, the thing too with like with things like Chronicles of Narnia, JR, the Lord of the Rings, there is a pretty distinct divide between good and evil.
Yeah.
Whereas things like Harry Potter, there's more gray.
Yeah, exactly.
And while yes, I understand there's definitely a lot of confusing ethical, dilemmas and things, moral dilemmas within the world.
Yeah.
I think we too much try and blur the lines between what's definitely right and what's definitely wrong. But
what do you think the Bible speaks out against so much with witchcraft, sorcery? Well, why is it such a? I mean, is it just because it leads to other things, or is it there is an evil element to that?
Well, it leads you away from trusting God.
Yeah.
You're trusting either your own power or what you discern or divine from the crystal ball or the Ouija board, all that kind of stuff. So, and the Bible really condemns that because God wants us to trust Him for the future.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that ultimately what most people want to know? What's going to happen in the future? How can I
control the future?
Control my circumstances? And I think that's the major enticement for a lot of these things. Let me get vengeance on someone who wronged me. I'm going to put a curse on them. Where what does God say? Don't take vengeance. Trust Him for that, right? So, it takes our attention off God and puts it, on other things. And ultimately, if we're really, look at these different mythologies and all their pantheons of gods and goddesses and things, all of those were embodied by demons.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what the Bible says. And, that's talked about. Paul talks about that when pagans sacrifice to idols, they're sacrificing to demons. There's demons that are standing in the place of those different deities. And those demons are still around today.
Yeah.
So I think there is a caution there. And like, I like spooky stuff and but
Me too.
You got to look carefully at when it really starts to embellish or embolden that satanic element as being a good thing. One of the things that really drives me nuts are storylines that talk about that portray Satan as some kind of a hero.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You ever see those kind of storylines
Yeah, I know
where it's
what you're talking
like, or there's some kind of implication or implying that what Adam and Eve did in falling was actually good. There was one, I forget what it was called. It was a movie that came out several years ago, probably about 10 years ago. and it was about magicians and witches and things. And I bought it. I found it was like in the $5 bin. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna get this and watch it. I thought it'd be pretty cool. And it ultimately was that kind of mentality that it was good that the human race fell because it opened up the doors to all these different powers and abilities and things. I chucked it in the trash after that. I was like, this is I can't take this.
Yeah.
This at least
That's a little too
something
far.
like Harry Potter. There's no mention of Christianity or religion or anything in that.
Yeah,
You know
it's
what I'm saying?
separate,
And so when I see something that's more of a deliberate attack
Yeah.
on Christianity and what I believe, I'm like, no.
I was thinking about was it a fortune teller or was she a witch too that was following Paul around and then he cast out whatever evil spirit she had in her.
Yeah, it was a slave girl.
Yeah.
And she was following him around and actually saying, these are the prophets of the Most High God, or actually, which was true, but Paul didn't want the testimony of a demon.
Yeah.
So and that's why they actually arrested him. Was it Paul and Silas at the time?
Yeah.
They came after him after he healed her because the owners of the slave
Yeah,
girl
because they
was
wanted
upset.
their money back.
Yeah,
Wait, we lost income here. 'Cause
Yeah.
she was our.
you lost our golden goose. You
yeah.
got rid of our golden goose.
Not the goose.
Now she's not the same. She's healed.
Yeah.
But I do think that like what you talked about is so true. Like, are we inviting those spirits in? Because I do think that there's when you hear demon possession or you hear about those, like witches and things like that, it's almost inviting that spiritual, ality into your life and saying that you're wanting to control or dictate things or to be open to that persuasion, to allow your mind to be altered and open to being possessed by a demon. Like we talked about, a Christian, the Holy Spirit lives there, so there's no way for that to interact with you. But for those that aren't Christians, I could definitely see those are opportunities for people to be possessed. But I think that it's interesting because there are some people that do you consider witchcraft to be almost Satan worship? Is that?
Yeah, I mean it's paganism. They don't necessarily worship Satan, but they worship the different pagan things. And they'll try and distinguish between white magic and dark magic, but and as far as the truth goes, it doesn't really matter.
And it's like taking control yourself again, not submitting to a higher power in God. It's like, I'll make this happen. I'll make these things occur. As opposed to being open to submitting your life to God.
And I've been listening to some lectures about the Chronicles of Narnia, going through each book, and it's really interesting how one of the things that Lewis played on was the fact that the children that understood, like in the first original book, you had 3 of them that understood witches are bad, dragons are bad, that kind of thing. You had Edmund, who was the one who, and it's interesting. I think it's not in that book. I think it's in the Voyage of the Dawn Treader where we're introduced to Eustace, where it says that Eustace didn't understand that dragons were bad because he'd never read the right stories.
Oh, wow.
And so you have this instance where Eustace finally, something happens to him. He gets turned into a dragon, right? And he finally starts to realize what a horrible person he is, number one.
Yeah.
And that, that the rest of everyone else has been right all along. And so you have this ability by people like Lewis to be able to tell a story and use some of these different elements to teach truth. And I think we automatically think that, demons and that type of, wicked spirits, that's through just through Satanism, if you get into that and, the dark magic and the sacrifice, drinking blood, all that. But it can be through any kind of sin that is invited in. And I remember I've heard stories that supposedly, you're all familiar with Hugh Hefner and the Playboy Mansion.
Yeah.
The Playboy Mansion's supposed to be haunted.
Uh-huh.
Well, it probably is.
Yeah.
But it's not, it's not because of Satan worship. It's because of all the illicit, immoral things that have been done there over the years, that there are probably demons of sexual immorality that are infesting that place. And so it's not just, people say, well, I don't do, Ouija boards and stuff like that. But if you're still seeking sin, I think of all the different places, gambling joints are probably, places where people get ensnared and trapped in sin, then there probably are demonic
Yeah,
influences
because
there.
it's where that stuff's gonna get attracted to.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like I feel fine walking around this place at night because I don't believe that there's anything evil here. Now it is a little spooky, it can be in the dark, but like I'm just gonna walk around confidence that there's no evil spirits here. I mean they may try to, but I'm gonna believe that this is God's house and He's here.
Of course, that's I don't know if I buy that. It's not God's house.
Well,
Because God is
I'm just
God dwells in us.
right. Yeah, I guess I'm just
Where
saying.
you
Right.
are.
This is where we gather, and this isn't Hugh Hefner's mansion. You know
Right,
what I mean?
exactly,
This is a place where holy.
The place of worship.
Yeah.
And so there really shouldn't be a fear here.
Right.
Which is funny because I have encountered several people at the different churches that I pastor that be like, oh, I hate coming to church at night. It scares me.
Yeah.
Someone has to come for, after hours and there's no one here and they come in and do something. They're like, oh, and I admit, sometimes, especially if it's an older church.
Oh,
it's,
yeah, with those cemeteries right next door.
Oh yeah.
But
What the heck were they thinking?
although it's funny, it's just a funny comment my grandpa used to say. Those dead people can't hurt you.
Yeah.
It's the live ones you got to worry about.
Yeah.
And he's right. I was like, I don't know. But
But are they really dead?
Yeah. Well, that's another thing, actually. We were talking about like places that could be haunted or whatever, or have demons. Are usually places where like sin has been seeked out, like you said, Hugh Hefner's mansion, stuff like that. Do you think that like graveyards and stuff, a place that everyone thinks haunted? Do you think that usually is just kind of like a fake thing? Because I mean, that's not like
it's all about association because their association. Hey, there's dead bodies down there.
yeah,
So there must be ghosts around.
yeah,
But there's no. I mean,
Well, unless you get those people that
yeah. Like if
do ceremonies in, then
Yeah.
that's like an inviting
Right,
that to that
yeah,
area.
yeah.
So I can kind
because
of
it also reminds me of like
Pet cemetery.
like places where
no.
like I mean I just watched like a ghost hunting thing of like a house where like a ton of murders happened. Do you think that like that kind of dark thing happening there, that do you think that could be
yeah, I do.
really?
I do. Yeah, anytime something, and generally that's where you find these claims of haunting is where something horrible has happened. Well, I mean, the Bible's, even Satan can possess people.
Yeah.
I mean, he possessed Judas.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and I think if someone gets that warped to where they're slaughtering people, they're not just doing that. I mean, people can be pretty wicked, but there's definitely some satanic involvement at that point because I just
Yeah. That's a good point. Spooky stuff.
But again, as Christians, though, and just what I shared some last week, the devil prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking who he may devour. One of our chief weapons is to know what he's, what's going on around us and and know the truth. So, as Christians,
the full armor of God on.
Yeah.
Ephesians 6:12. And that's the thing that we do fight against principalities of darkness. We need to keep that in mind. Yeah.
You got a verse or anything? Or I mean,
I think that was good right there.
yeah, I was about to say we've
Ephesians
covered a lot.
6:12.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it is cool. Like we do these episodes because they're fun to talk about. Because it's Halloween and it's just stuff that is going around. But it is good knowledge to know. I mean, before this podcast, I didn't know a ton about demon stuff, and Doug's taught us a lot. And
But we've talked about this multiple times on podcasts and different things we've talked about, that there is I guess Chinese, it's the yin and the yang, and we see this play out in movies all the time where there is this greater good, but there's also this great evil.
yeah,
And I don't think that's a coincidence.
no, yeah,
There is truth to that. It's other cultures or other religions may misunderstand that and label it certain things, but there's a supernatural power.
yeah,
And there's an evil side and there's a good side. And, we as Christians, and to me, it's the total truth, that Jesus is on the good side, and we have this character named Satan and his demons are on the dark side.
And
So
I know
there's
we've like you said, we talk about a ton, but it's if you think about it, it's a pretty advanced concept, like not a physical concept to think about like the light and the dark. but it's something that is told in basically every story. It's
Any-
such a natural thing for us to believe.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like a lot of concepts like that, like kind of advanced things that we can't physically see, that's something that a lot of people just don't take the time to like figure out or stuff. But that's such a pivotal thing in our culture, like pop culture stuff. Like that's kind of why we did this podcast, is to look for stuff like that in pop culture. And it kind of, I think it speaks to how we were made. Like we were made to understand like there's a good side and there's a bad side. And that's been interpreted in different ways.
Even with that thought,
mm-hmm.
does not to speak to something else.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, because you're right. Every civilization, every culture that I know of,
Mm-hmm.
I've ever heard about, has that light, darkness.
Mm-hmm. There's always a good side and always an evil side.
I mean, you can't escape it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that there?
And I think Christianity obviously is really the place that explains the origins of it. Like, I mean,
exactly.
Like I remember in like I took Christian based like humanities classes and stuff, but we went back and looked at like Native American beliefs and stuff and different cultures and stuff, and all of them have those light and dark things, but a lot of them don't even talk about like the origins of it. It's just like something that they accept and don't really question. Just like, oh yeah, there's a light side and a dark side.
And to me, you know, talking about that too, like the Bible is a 2,000 year span of Old Testament Genesis to
even longer than that.
So
I
it's
think.
over 2,500 or
Something like that. Yeah.
So think about that. You got over 2,000, 2,000 to 3,000 years of written documents by, you know, I mean, there's 66 books in the Bible. I can't think of how many authors right now.
Yeah.
Do you know? Like
Not
how many
offhand,
total authors of the Bible. Some we don't even know, like Hebrews. We don't know who wrote
Yeah.
Hebrews. But anyhow, you think about that all that's put together over all that time and span, and then you come out with one clear person to
Mhm.
be the Messiah
Yeah.
as Jesus that fits everything in the Old Testament to the New Testament.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, we're doing a Sunday school series right now in the book of Hebrews, and how, you know, the book of Hebrews is really, you know, helping the Jewish people that are coming to faith in Christ to understand how Jesus is supreme of all. You know, he's over the angels, where the angels are the spokesperson for God, that Jesus is above the angels. And that's kind of like their big thing. If you had an angel appear to you, that was God speaking, and only God spoke through angels.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now, you know, the Hebrew is saying, a writer is saying, Jesus is above the angels. It's basically in chapter 1 and chapter 2. And then you go to chapter 3 and 4, and then it's talking about how Jesus is greater than Moses and Joshua, and how there is a rest, there's a promised land, just, you know, how that Jesus is providing this new rest for us. And so through the whole course, and then he goes into the high priest in, you know, chapters 5 and 6. But anyhow, so as you look at the book of Hebrews, it's laying this casework of what the Old Testament represents. And it's always referring back to old passages that people would know, and saying this is, and then why this is better than Jesus, or why that fulfills and is fulfilled by Jesus. But again, you know, I know there will be people that I guess I go back to, what are some common things that people that don't believe in God could we agree on? And I would say that light and darkness has to be something that's agreed upon. And then it makes me ask the question, well why?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that there?
Even like, even if someone doesn't believe in like angels and demons and stuff, like that's something that's pretty popular for like atheists and not believe in. Most people believe in, like, they know the difference between like a serial killer and a good person. There's like a moral thing there.
Oh yeah,
that ties back to the good and evil side. Like, it's
C.S. Lewis talks about that there's a moral code that's put in all of us. Now, can that be warped in some way? Yeah, but there is a moral code that's written inside of us that you didn't get it. You know, some people will say, well, you just got that. Well, how's that every culture have that?
Like,
almost every culture has it. And, I mean, there's random cases like cannibalism and things like that. But most cultures, I mean, even cannibalism, there's still a code.
Yeah, there's a reason.
Morals, but you know, it can be warped, right?
Yeah.
And so why is there a moral, especially if it's evolution? Why you know, why is that there if it's evolution? There's information put inside each one of us that knows why, you know, what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
But you know, anyhow.
Well,
No,
it's
it's
Romans 2,
fascinating.
right?
Huh?
Romans 2.
Yeah.
Romans 2 says that when those who do not have the law by nature do what's in the law, they are a law unto themselves, showing that the law is written on their heart.
Absolutely.
So there is an understanding of a basic right and wrong that is the same to everyone in the human race.
Yeah.
And so that's why people recognize certain fundamental truths like that. And it doesn't matter where you go to in any culture. If a man's wife cheats on him with another man, they instinctively know that's wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. If you take something from someone that's not yours, they ultimately know that that's wrong. But the question is again, it comes back to why. Why is that wrong? Why? I mean, they have it in their heart, but they have to try and come up with reasons why that's wrong.
Exactly.
And without God, without the revelation of Scripture, they will always come to the wrong conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I've always enjoyed reading, like Greek mythology, all the different mythologies and stuff, and you see that same thing, right? Right and wrong, that kind of thing, light and darkness. But the thing is that right and wrong is so blurred.
Mm-hmm.
Like the different gods and goddesses of Greek mythology, Roman mythology, they're not worthy of worship.
Mm-hmm.
They're not holy. There's no righteousness there. They're as perverted and corrupt as the human race.
And it's interesting that even Greek mythology admits that too. Like it's not like them looking at those gods that's blurred for them. They're like they know that these Greek gods have a human side to them that they refer to as the dark side, like the drunkenness or the murder, chopping off their kid's head or whatever.
Right.
So like even stuff like that was once popularly believed in, like even then they knew, even with those gods, that within those gods that they made up, there is a moral side to that they understood.
Yeah.
And what's sad is in all this stuff we've been talking about with witchcraft and paganism, they're actually going backwards to those things.
Yeah.
They worship these ancient mythological beings, and
well, if I can, and this might be controversial, but I'm going to say it anyhow.
Let it out.
But
Go for
just
it.
like the whole why can I think environmental thing, or climate control or climate change.
Yeah.
Okay. I almost feel like we're getting to a place where it's worshiping creation, right?
yeah, oh yeah, I've noticed that for a long time.
I mean, as a Christian, the planet is dying, and I know it, right?
Final
so
Fantasy VII.
you can tell me all about how the Earth's core are changing, or the climate, or we're going to go through an ice age. I don't think we can stop it.
Yeah.
No matter what we do, and because I believe there's an end coming, right? And I think that when we start worshiping the creation and start, we got to save it. I mean, I'll do my part. I'll throw away stuff. I'll recycle if a recycle bin's next to me.
Yeah.
But I'm just being honest. But
it's honest.
I'm not so concerned about this world being around the next 5 generations, because I believe as a Christian that this world is not the final destination, right? And so I think it's getting to the point where it's worshiping creation, and creation is not the thing to be worshipped.
And that is the heart of witchcraft and this paganism. Yeah. So you're coming full circle, right? You're coming back, and instead of worshiping the creator, you're worshiping the creation. Again, this goes back to Romans. What Romans says, instead of worshiping God, they worshipped
The creator.
birds and snakes and images made, and and so that is where I agree with you, Eric. I've seen that for a long time. That is the new religion. It's either belief in the state as God or in the creation as God, or both. It's a mixture of both. And it's really interesting because you can take this pagan belief in basically what is the deity of the creation, and pair that with evolution. They go together. There's no conflict between the belief in earth spirits and things like that with evolution. It actually works together if you look at it.
Yeah.
Because evolution says the earth created itself, basically. Or the universe created itself. And that's what paganism says. Yeah. The universe itself is God. Whereas we believe that no, God is outside of everything and created the universe and everything in it.
Yeah.
And so
I think that's I think you alluded to it too, is that it's a separation. The biggest separation I see with Christianity is in Judaism to start with, I guess, is the fact that God is pure and holy. Where I don't know if any other religion, it's more about us perfecting ourselves with other religions, I guess I would say, that works based again, with that concept bewith I think that's what leads to these other things when you think you can measure up, that you can do something to make yourself better. Where, Christianity and Judaism believes it's God that's holy, it's God that is the one to look to, and of course, we believe that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life, and He is the only way to the Father.
And if anyone, one author that I think of who's very well versed in this, written a lot of books, is a man by the name of Dr. Peter Jones, and he calls this the difference between oneism and twoism. Where oneism is the belief that the universe and everything in it is all, that's it. There's just one thing. Whereas twoism, as Christians believe, you have creation on the one hand and you have God on the other. So they're separate. And I've read a couple of his books, and it's amazing how he traces how paganism has infiltrated every single area of life. Education, business, politics, sports, every entertainment, every avenue of life has been infiltrated by all this different paganism stuff. Yeah. And it's so if you're interested in learning more about how all that stuff is happening, and it's where it's driving towards, which is, chaos.
This is probably another conversation for another time. But it's I think about the Muslim faith and how it's distorted enough, and like Mecca, where they go to pilgrims, and they're supposed to go to their pilgrims in their lifetime at one point, time in their lifetime. That was actually a major place for pagan worship. So that spot that was chosen by Muhammad to be the main spot is actually a spot where many pagan religions and sacrifices occurred throughout time. And, because Muhammad was all about trying to merge all the religions into one and making one world religion that would be accepted by pretty much everybody. And it's just interesting, I wonder how creationism and worshiping creation will merge into the Muslim faith. And I don't know that for sure, but it just seems like Muslim faith maybe that eventually become that one world religion, because it is as far as religions, I guess, you go to Christianity and you go to Muslim, right? That's the second greatest religion in the world. And even that's interesting, the fact that they believe in Jesus, but they believe that he was a minor prophet compared to seeing him as Christ. And they of course believe Ishmael was the son that was offered as a sacrifice to God. So it's a distorted view of the Jewish faith and Christianity together. It's really interesting.
It is, man.
It's a good show.
Good show.
Better be for as long as it's been.
That was a long one, but
I think both of them were pretty long.
We're talking about it. We haven't done this in a while. I haven't talked to humans in like 2 weeks.
I'm sorry.
So here we are.
There's this thing called a telephone.
Yeah, but I mean,
nobody talks on the phone nowadays.
I know. Yeah. They use their phone for everything but actually talking to people.
And I'm awful at texting, so. But anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for next Halloween episode. We're going to talk about aliens. I don't know if that's true or not, but we're going to talk
UFOs.
I go to the next one, UFOs. So thanks for watching. Have a good spooky season. Don't do witchcraft. Peace.